the offense was a little struggling out there today? I mean, I know it's a mini camp, but what did you feel about the offensive performance?
I thought it was good. I didn't get that same feeling, but I thought it was good practice, and thought all three phases did a solid job.
As far as training camp and who's going to be still recovering when training camp begins, is it Mustafa, Ayuk, Rourke, and Curtis Robinson as the ones who are unlikely to begin? Anyone else on that list?
Sounds close. I definitely didn't ask about the first day of training camp today, so I'm not sure, but that's a pretty good guess. Those all sound accurate.
That was a long way of me asking if any of the absentees for these camps might spill into late July.
Some could. Those like the ones you mentioned. I don't know all the others, but we'll do that evaluation first day we get back from training camp. I think most of these guys are good. Just to help you guys with that, let me see my injuries. All right. Jair Brown had ankle cleanup surgery. We're expecting back by training camp. Ricky Purcell had a hamstring, nothing serious. He's really pretty good now. We're just being safe, so he'll be good by training camp. Alfred Collins, his calf, that happened before the draft. Pretty good now, being smart with him. He should be good by training camp. Andre Dillard had his ankle scoped. He'll be good by training camp. Juwan Jennings, calf, nothing serious, training camp. George Odom, his knee, just still rehabbing from the season. He should be good from training camp. Tour, just some old knee wear and tear. We're just being smart with him. He'll be fine by training camp. Trent Taylor had his back. He went on IR, so he won't. Michael Williams, just a tight hamstring. We're just being smart. Probably could go this week, but we'll just hold him for training camp. Ayuk, Mustafa, Curtis, still dealing with their ACLs. Sure. Only 1 minute left. No.
Brandon Ayuk was out there for the first time, at least that I saw him so far since you guys have been back. Just interested to know, like, what have conversations been like between you and Brandon? How's he feeling after coming back from ACL surgery as he is making his way back?
He's making his way back. He's still in the middle of it, so he's working through that. You know, he's been around. He's been rehabbing for the most part, but he's been out to some practices, and it was good to have him out today.
Trent Williams looked in the limited time he's been out here, and just how, I guess, vital is it to manage his workload so he can make it through a season healthy?
I think it's vital, just the same as it always is. When you get injuries, you get injuries, but with guys with age and the wear and tear and stuff, we just try to keep their legs fresher and stuff. And it's been good to get him here in 2 weeks of individual drills and things like that. And be shocked if we put him out there tomorrow. I don't expect to see him, except for maybe individual, and he'll be good to go for camp.
Lighter, Kyle? He looks lighter, maybe. Trent.
I haven't checked him out as hard as you have, but what do you mean by that? I think he looks good, though. He looks in shape, and he's been in shape in his drills. He's gone through them all, and he's healthy and right where he needs to be.
You have like big picture talks with Trent, like how much longer do you want to play? Do you need to know that, just the way you build your roster?
No, I don't think I need to know that, or we need to know that right now. The stuff I talk to Trent about, not all the time, but every once in a while. But you take everything year by year.
What do you think about Bryce Huff, and what does he add to the defense?
I just like Bryce. I think he affects the quarterback. When you talk about just getting off the ball and how fast he does it, he'll be our best get off the ball guy we've had since Steve Ford. So in terms of that, it's good to beat tackles that way, but also widens tackles to help with the inside pass rush and things like that. And he affects the quarterback.
Your impression of Jake Moody, he's got the new sort of like wind up where he sort of torques his leg. What's your impression of that?
The field goal's been going between the two uprights. I've liked it so far. Been good.
Going back to Bryce Huff, he had a more challenging season last year, but Chris Cassera talked about he still thought he had some good film out there. What did you see from him last year, and why was it so challenging for him?
I don't think he didn't play that much. I think he sat for a number of games, and I just think that's the player didn't change. He didn't fit as well in their scheme, and just what they do schematically and stuff. I think they wanted to go a different direction with stuff. They're outside guys dropping the coverage and things like that, being a 3-4 base, and that's something we really never do. So it's a little bit different. But as far as just watching him on tape and stuff, he always kind of looked the same. I just don't think the opportunities were there for him.
When it comes to Robert Saleh, there was a play out there where Robert got all out in the middle of everything, excited for his guys because they made a play. Do you see a difference in, I will say, the aura of the defense with Robert Saleh back out there with the guys?
I think the guys, there's only I'm guessing like 3 guys, maybe 4, who were here when he was here last. And so I think those guys have a lot of confidence in him and remember his time here, and they probably express that confidence they have in him to the other guys. yeah, our energy's been great throughout the whole team, through the defense, definitely. And Saul's been great too.
From Jacob Cowing and how he's come back to these practices.
I think, Jacob, I thought put in some of the most work that anyone did over the offseason. Just, as far as doing it before Phase 1 started and then continuing it through 1, 2, and 3. And I think it's really transferred over into those OTA practices.
Jordan Watkins doing well for a rookie?
Yeah, I think Jordan's doing solid. He's had some good days, some bad, but normal.
Is this the most speed you've had with your weapons, and are you excited about what that potentially could lead to this year?
No, I don't think it is, but I'm excited about our weapons.
You, the Niners,
We've been
reported
talking about 40 times and stuff. There's been some groups that have been maybe faster, but it doesn't equate to better.
you guys reportedly had a visit with Gabe Davis. Is that an indication that you could have interest in a veteran wide receiver at some point down the road? Or are you at least monitoring the market?
I think it's how we handle every situation. We monitor everything. So I think Gabe's visited a few teams. He's a guy we've been a fan of in the past, and he wanted to visit a few teams and talk to them about mutual interest. And we had a good visit, but that's stuff we really never stopped doing.
Gus Bradley bring to the mix?
Gus, I have as much respect for as any coach. Been around, going against him a ton, how good he's been, and I just feel very fortunate to get him here. Saul has been with them for a long time. They have different personalities, but they're from very similar backgrounds, so I think it's really cool for Saul to have him to bounce ideas off of and kind of to challenge him in certain ways. And Gus also brings a certain wisdom, just as far as teaching, how he communicates with people. He's always trying to help guys out around the building, and I think he's been one of our huge additions this offseason.
Was there an appeal for you for bringing in coaches whose fathers also had football backgrounds? Think about you and the Kubiaks, and Greasy was here, and now Mick Lombardi, who's he used to race dance to the phone, and here Al Davis on the other end of the line, and guys that have been football guys probably since their dads were at practice. Is there something to that?
Yeah, I think I haven't been in another line of works, but and I kind of find that people who've grown up around a certain profession have kind of been paying attention to it since they can remember, 3 years old. It's not absolute by any means in any situation, but I feel those guys sometimes have an 18-year head start over other people, whether they realize it or not. Like, I always wanted to be a player my whole life. Didn't admit to myself that I wanted to be a coach till probably college, once I started learning that I wasn't a good enough player. But you don't realize till you get into coaching how much you've been working on it. I just think of like every dinner I've had growing up, and just sitting with my mom and my sister, my dad, and always halfway through probably every meal I've had since 5th grade. My sister and mom are eventually annoyed with my free agent questions, my draft questions, 40 questions, like all types of stuff like that. And I think people are like that always, not always, but a lot with their dad. And if you're like that, whatever line of work you go into, you have a little bit of a head start, and that gives you an advantage, but you got to take advantage of that too.
Another Trent question, if you could. You mentioned it's a younger team, a lot of different people on it. How important is he? An older guy, obviously, who's got all pros and all the things he's got. Just his presence, his vibe. How important is he now, even with a younger team?
I think it's big. I think sometimes that stuff can be underrated and also overrated, but everyone knows who Trent is. Just the career he's had, being one of the best tackles to play the game. So when you are a name that people have grown up watching, they want to see how you are in the building. I think it's always different when you're a 36-year-old and the position he plays, and he's not someone that you're going to ever recommend a 22-year-old or something that act exactly that same way and go through that same path. Trent's in a different time in his career than everyone else. But I love Trent being around so people can see how much he does care about football, how much he does work at football. You know that by how he plays. But it's cool at his age and where he's at in his career for people to still see what he has to do to get ready. He has to do it for himself more than anything. But anytime you have the kind of credibility that someone like Trent has earned, anytime someone gets to watch him do that and watch what he puts into it will always help other people.
When did your dad start listening to your suggestions?
He pretended he always did, at least most of the dinner, until I would disagree with him, and eventually I'd get annoying, which is happening with me and my son every night right now, and my daughters too, and my wife. But I probably more when I got in college. There's a couple things that came up, and you start to realize there's some different perspectives, and people look at it all the time, and I think he would actually enjoy it and call you a week later and be like, hey, what you were so adamant about all 30 of those things, actually one of them you were right on, so maybe I should listen a little more sometimes.
When Mac Jones was in here last week, he was talking about having to relearn to trust what he sees and cut it loose. When you have a guy like that who had some early success and then didn't have success and has to kind of regain confidence, how do you kind of go about rebuilding that with a guy like him?
I'm trying to get him to trust what they do and let it rip. That's all I want in practice. Like, you go through all these practices and you never throw a pick, you're probably not getting better. I think that's one of the biggest challenges having you guys around. No offense to you guys, but they used not to report people's stats every day and say who's ahead, who's back, who's whatever. You could just practice. And when guys play to practice that way, they don't get better at anything. So, especially a quarterback. I mean, it's hard when you get in that stadium and things like that. Not only are you getting hit for the first time, but now all that stuff counts. And if you don't let it rip and go through all that in practice, you're not going to get any better in the games. And then it's usually a matter of time before someone passes you up.
How important is this time between now and camp for both your players and coaches? What have you said to them about how you want them to spend that time?
I mean, the biggest part is the work we put in already. Like the work we put in since April, whatever, since phase one. I've been extremely proud of the guys and what they've done. You put all that work in, and now we got these 2 practices left, and now it's 1 really. And I mean, I almost want to cancel the whole week. But there's 20 guys out there who still really need this week, and then there's 60 guys who kind of, they're just trying to get through this and let's not get them injured. And that's kind of our biggest goal with everything. Everyone's put in the work. There's some younger guys who still need more reps. But it's knowing what you've done. Now get away from us for about 40 days. Some guys can stay here. We have the weight room open. We have all that stuff. But get away, assess what's gone on, work to improve that stuff. So when you come back to really compete in training camp, you've put in the work, and now you found a way to take a step forward. Like, I always remember you go back to spring football or anything, and it doesn't matter whether it's good or bad. You put in all that work, and then you need a certain amount of time to get away so you can find a way to get an edge on people you're competing against, and that's that time for these guys.
John Lynch talked about Christian McCaffrey and just how impressed he's been with him. Obviously, Christian's such a consistent guy in his approach and everything, but is there anything that maybe has stood out to you that you've seen from Christian so far?
If I said it, I'd be making it up, because Christian is, he is a psycho in a good way. And so, he does everything imaginable every single day. Last year, he couldn't because he was battling an injury all last year. And this year, he's healthy. So he's right back to being who he's always been, and it's really fun to watch. All right, thanks, guys.